Seoul, on the third night of the typhoon, Lyric counted the notes left in her mother's music box. There were 4. The box was small and worn, cedar wood with a brass winder, and it sat on her nightstand like a counting down clock. The mechanism was broken. Teeth missing from the brass comb, the spring nearing its end, each winding produced fewer notes than the last. Her sister Melody stood in the doorway with broth that had gone cold an hour ago, but Lyric was not hungry. She was not anything anymore. She was just a girl in a bed watching a music box die. Seoul. 6 weeks ago, Lyric had been someone else. She had been the girl who played the Sibelius like she had written it herself. The girl whose fingers could stop a hurricane of bow strokes and find exactly the note the music needed. But during the crescendo, she reached for a high note, and her foot caught the edge of the stage. The fall was 3 feet, that was all. 3 feet and a hand extended to break the fall, and the sound of bones in her wrist shifting like gravel under a tire. The doctors said the hand would heal. They said she could play again, maybe not at the concert level. They did not understand that for Lyric. Maybe a not at the concert level were the same as never. Seoul, Gideon's workshop was a museum of unfinished things, instruments that would never sing again, gears that would never turn, and on the wall a blank score that had been blank for 40 years. He was old, older than the building. It sometimes seemed with wild silver hair and fingers stained with a decade of varnish. When Melody told him about the music box and what Lyric planned to do when the notes ran out, he barely looked up. "I rebuild Stradivarius copies," he said. "I don't fix toys." But his eyes flickered with something he hid behind gruffness, and the blank score on the wall seemed to glow in the lantern light. Seoul, that night the storm grew worse. The wind became a continuous scream. When the power went out, Melody lit candles, and in the flickering dark, Lyric wound the box once more. 3 notes, each one fainter, each one closer to silence. "When they're gone, I'm done," Lyric said, and her voice was calm in a way that terrified Melody more than any storm. "It's my life. It's my hand. It's my choice. It's my sister," Melody whispered, and Lyric looked away. The countdown was explicit now. 3 notes, and then silence. "Seoul, you don't fix anything," Melody said, her voice sharp as broken glass. "You talk, 40 years of talk, and when a girl needs something to hold on to, you say you can't fix a box." Gideon shouted at her to leave, and she did, but her words stayed behind, cutting deeper than any storm. "No wonder your score is blank," she had said. "You've never finished a thing in your life." And Gideon sat alone, shaking, the blank score staring at him like an accusation he could no longer outrun. He looked at his hands, stained with varnish, stained with ink, stained with 40 years of intention without action. Seoul, 40 years. 40 years of starting and never finishing. 40 years of a symphony that existed only in his head because he was too afraid to discover it was not good enough. But now, staring at the blank score, Gideon realized something. Finishing was not about the work being perfect. It was about the work being done. He had seen Lyric play once, months ago. She had played the Sibelius like someone who had finished something, who had arrived, who was not afraid of the last note, because the last note was exactly what the music needed. And now she was counting notes down to 0, thinking 0 was the end. But 0 was not the end. 0 was a rest, a breath, a pause before the next phrase. He picked up the resonance chamber and began to work. Seoul, he worked through the worst of the storm. The wind tore a shutter off the 2nd floor. Water pooled on the floor of his workshop, but Gideon did not stop. He did not drink. He did not rest. He machined a new brass comb, each tooth calibrated by his own failing ears. He adapted the resonance chamber, sealing a tuning fork in its vacuum capsule so it would ring forever. The storm raged and he worked, and when he wound the key and the box played, a single note, pure and unwavering, a note that refused to end. Gideon smiled. It was the smile of a man who had finally, after 40 years, finished something. Seoul, the storm caught him immediately. 40 yards across the courtyard had never felt so far. He held the music box against his chest, inside his coat, and he walked. Something struck his head, a branch or a piece of debris, but he did not fall. He kept walking because he was finishing something, and you do not stop in the middle of a finish. He made it to the door. He climbed the stairs, 3 flights, each step a little harder than the last. His heart was beating a rhythm that was not quite a waltz, and when he reached their room, he set the box just inside the door. He did not knock. He did not announce himself. He simply placed it there, turned, and began the long walk back. Seoul. He made it halfway down the first flight of stairs before his heart, which had beaten for 68 years, decided it had finished its work. He slid down the wall and sat on the landing, his eyes open, a faint smile still on his face. He had finished something. For the first time in his life, he had finished something. And what he had finished was not a symphony. It was a single note given to a girl who needed to know that some things do not have to end. The storm passed, the sun rose, and the box waited on the floor, just inside the door, holding a note that would never fade. Soul Lyric woke to sunlight. The storm had passed, and the sky was the color of washed glass. On the floor just inside the door was the music box, polished, heavier, changed. She wound the key, and the note that emerged was like nothing she had ever heard. A single tone, clear and pure, and it did not waver. It did not decay. It simply sustained, a note that refused to end, a note that had forgotten how to fall. She listened for a full minute, then 5, then 10. It never changed. It never faded. It stayed. How? She whispered. And Melody told her everything. The old man in the basement, the night of work, the crossing of the storm, the box left at the door. Soul, he died because he finished something, Melody said. For the first time in his life, he finished something, and he gave it to you. Lyric looked at the box in her hands. The note was still playing. It would always be playing, a single, perfect, infinite note. She had thought her life was like the old music box, a broken mechanism running down, heading for silence. But that was not the end of the story. That was just where someone else's masterpiece began. She picked up her violin, the one she had not touched in 6 weeks. She drew the bow across the string, and the note that emerged was not perfect, but it was a note, and it matched the note from the box, and she let them ring together, her imperfect note and his perfect one, and she did not stop. Soul, she kept playing because some things do not have to end. Some things can be finished and still continue. Some notes, once played, ring forever in the air they touched. Gideon's symphony was never a symphony at all. It was a single note given to a girl who needed to know that not everything ends. And Lyric, with her broken hand and her trembling bow, played her imperfect note alongside his perfect one. The two sounds blended, his finished masterpiece and her courageous continuation, and they did not stop. The storm was over, the sun was rising, and Lyric was playing her violin again, not because her hand was healed, but because she understood that playing was not about perfection, it was about continuation.